ring if you're ready to care. Oh, let's talk power, let's talk speed. Hosted by the one and only WeTooDeep. Turn it up loud, feel the power in your seat. This is Slapping Me, yes, Slapping Me.
Welcome back to another episode of the Slapping Meat Community Show. And we are in for a good one. If you are tuned in, I want to thank you. I'm your host, WeTooDeep. And I'll be honest with you. I have zero plan for this. Like, I'm going in no, show notes, no nothing. Right, I know I'm going to talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw last night, and what I think about that. But what I say about Raw, what we talk about, there's some other wrestling news that we'll definitely get to, but this is unplanned, nothing, right? And after last week, I think I sort of explained last week that this was probably moving to more of a wrestling show. And I got a message from OG follower Kara in the Discord. She messaged me and was like, hey, just a suggestion. Just talk about what you want to talk about. Don't try to, force a topic if you're not interested. The OGs will stay with you on the show. And I needed that 100% because I need to be reminded that I'm not in this to build an audience. If a large audience don't come, that's fine, right? I just respect the fact that I have an audience, and I have an audience of people who, through the different changes of the show, have stuck with it. The Karas, the B-Masters, and like that, who have been here since, I won't say day one, but have been here since season one, because I really didn't get followers or listeners until, late into I first started, probably be episode 10, 15, right? The whole point of that is saying, I appreciate that. I appreciate the message that Kara sent me. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. I also got another message from B-Master. Hey, what happened to WeTooDeep Pro Wrestling? And the last few episodes, there haven't been anything about it. And a lot of that was because there was a lot going on with WrestleMania and predicting it and talking about it in the draft predictions and all of that. And it somewhat slipped my mind, and I think it's a good thing because I just didn't want to take up time that maybe could have been spent somewhere else, that we spent somewhere else talking, whether it's about WrestleMania or the draft, right? And so now we're post-WrestleMania, and we are, we are on the road, essentially, towards SummerSlam, and we're going to pick back up. We're on, for last thing I found, the last episode I saw, we did season 8, so I'm just going to pick up with season 9. I have season 9 and season 10 already booked, and then I got to get cooking again. In the pot, I got to get back in the booth and start cooking here soon to pick up where we left off. And what I might do, realistically, is, so season 10 is the last season I have booked. And so what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and make this decision, is if you as a listener want to be, as I pick up on season 11, so we're going to do season 9 this week, season 10 next week, and then the week after that, I have to start booking again. And so, starting with season 11, I want to add some new characters. Now, Kara, I'm going to be honest with you. Kara, a few months ago, not a month, but not a few months ago, a few weeks ago, as this whole thing was starting to get started, she sent me some AI video of like a storyline that could play out, and it got me thinking, like, what if I brought in like members of the community as characters in this sort of fake universe. The thing I don't want to do, though, is to just start listing people without them telling me they want to be on the show, right? So, that is where I think I want to head, if you're okay with it, if that's something you want to be a part of, to have me, starting in Season 11, use you as a character on WeTooDeep Pro Wrestling. Let me know. Join if you're in the Discord, whether in the Discord or if you want to send me a DM. And let me know if you want to be a wrestler. You know, like, I'm sort of considering, like, I'm just going to use Kara for an example. Having her be like some sort of executive from another company that's either competing with me or trying to buy out the company, or like a manager type character for someone trying to get revenge on me. Like Liv, I don't know if we've got to that point. I don't want to spoil it, but right, you see what I'm trying to say here, right? And so that's probably going to be her role, you know. And so to the others in the community, let me know if you want to be a manager. Let me know if you want to be a wrestler. Let me know, like, and then with that, like, give me characteristics and book yourself. Like, how would you want to be introduced into, for example, if Wavy D wants to be a manager for Obafemi, like I have on the roster, or MJF, or something along, like, how would you want to build and book yourself on the show? It's a community show. Tell me, like, how you want to be introduced. With that being said, once you get introduced onto the show, what happens after that is up to me, my creative mind, and the sort of AI assistants that, I'll be honest, a lot of this is sort of gathered together, and I sort of book the stories and then have AI be like, hey, does this sound good? What can I change? Offer some suggestions. Write this promo, right? I wish I had the ability to pay for the more expensive services that would actually create these episodes. I wish I could afford that, and then we could have it like live premiere. That would be cool if I had the money to do that. But with that being said, let's jump in to Season 9. And I feel like I need to recap what happened. Essentially, the main things that happen after Season 8, at the end of Season 8, Liv loses the title to Stephanie Vaquer, with Bennett betraying, right? And I don't know if I ever got to that point, to be honest with you. Like, I'm reading this, like, I don't remember 100% where we got to. Either way, I just sort of spoiled it. We'll still do Season 9. But yeah, so Stephanie Vaquer is now the champion, aligned with Bennett, right? Ethan Page still has the world title, right? And we sort of have some mid-card stuff going on as well. But anyway, we'll pick up in Season 9. We start the first episode of season 9 with Bennett Randleman sort of opening the show. He's smirking. And he says, you know what? We got the world titles. Like, he's speaking. The camera's solely on him in his office. Like, world titles, that's done. But this season is about the future. Mid-card domination. 2 new titles. I'm introducing 2 new championships. Men's and women's television champions, and only the worthy will claim them. So then we set up tournaments for these belts. For the men's side, MJF, Leon Slater, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Braun Breaker, Ricky Saints, Oba Femi, all sort of named as potential suitors to win this tournament. Or on the women's side, Rhea, Bianca, Maxine, Kendall, Willow, Harley, Britt Baker, right? And then we sort of end the episode with Ethan and Stephanie are outside of the TV title picture and sort of get essentially a season off. Dom and Ethan, though, are still sort of continuing to feud for the world title. Bennett flirts with Stephanie Vaquer. Britt Baker sort of notices it, right? And that's sort of how the first episode goes. Week 2, we start the TV tournament, right? So week 1 is a lot of just storytelling, right? It's vignettes and promos, and get to know these wrestlers who are in these who are going to be in the tournaments, and setting up Dom and Ethan again, right? So then week 2, we actually start the tournament. We have 2 matches on the men's side. Or excuse me, 3 matches on the men's side. MJF defeats Trick Williams. Leon Slater defeats Javon Evans. Braun Breaker beats Ricky Saints. And Oba Femi defeats Oba Femi defeats a squash town. A sort of squash match local talent who gets an opportunity, right? And the women's first round, Kendall Gray defeats Harley Cameron. Bianca beats Maxine. Liv beats Willow. Britt beats Rhea Ripley. Some additional segments in week 2. Bennett sort of seen again flirting with Stephanie. Britt is plotting to manipulate Bennett for her advantage. Dom and Ethan get into it backstage in a skirmish. We get MJF versus Leon Slater, in which MJF wins. Braun Breaker versus Oba Femi. Braun Breaker wins, and there's some more pay-per-view drama that could be potentially be set up there. Britt Baker versus Bianca Belair. Britt wins. Liv versus Kendall Gray. And Liv Morgan wins, right? In a strong showing. Again, more skirmishes as well between Dom and Ethan. We get go home week on week 4. Braun versus MJF teased as the main event of the pay-per-view. Liv versus Britt as the co-main, with some additional segments as well. Oba cuts a promo saying, regardless of me losing this tournament, I'm still the number 1 contender for the world championship. Dom, whoever wins in your match at this pay-per-view, I'm coming for you. Right? So then we get, the actual PLE pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it. To which we start with a showcase match between Leon Slater and Javon Evans. Just to showcase the talent, right? And Leon Slater gets a big win. We have another a women's tag match, Maxine Harley versus Soul and Kendall. And Maxine and Harley win the match with the double team finisher. Women's TV Championship finals between Britt and Liv Morgan. Back and forth match, crowd fully behind Liv. Britt is sort of being strategic and cunning. Sort of the middle of the match, Bennett shows up ringside. And the finish is Britt countering Oblivion. Hits her finisher. Liv taps out. I forgot what Britt's submission finisher is called. But she hits that, and Britt is the women's television championship. And the crowd is shocked as Britt Baker officially joins the Tide. Which starts a sort of love triangle story between Britt, Stephanie, and Bennett. What drama is what drama is going to come? Right? And then you get MJF versus Braun Breaker for the men's TV championship. Braun is dominating early. The crowd's fully behind him. Bennett interferes again to help MJF. MJF hits his finisher and wins the match. And MJF joins the Tide as well. And the main event of the actual match, added the night of the pay-per-view, is Ethan Page versus Dominic Mysterio for the World Championship. Bennett's still at ringside to sort of, protect Ethan. Dom goes for a finishing move, hits it, goes for the pin. Bennett pulls the ref out of the ring. Ethan climbs onto a ladder and jumps off. Or he climbs up a ladder. Dom sort of stops him from doing anything. He meets him at the top of the ladder. And Ethan hits I don't want to call it like an F5, that's not his move, but, like a F5 sort of AA type finisher. Not really his finisher, but he just hits the move from the top of the ladder. Dom is out, and Ethan retains the championship. So heading into sort of the post pay-per-view, setting up season 10, you got the Tide in complete dominance. Right now, you get this love triangle started within the Tide as well, and we'll see where that takes everyone. Which leads me to Liv Morgan wanting revenge. Does that happen in season 10? Could it happen in season 11? Right, as we start that. But with that, that's the only thing I had planned, written down to talk about. But let's address, Kara said talk about what you want to talk about. I want to save the wrestling kind of for last, because I know that's why a lot of people are here. And so the first thing I want to talk about is the NFL draft has happened, and I want to briefly mention it, talking about the Patriots, because I mentioned a little bit on Friday some thoughts about it, I think. But I want to mention to get the complete Patriots draft, as I've sat on it for about a week now. Excuse me. I'm not upset with what we did. I don't think there's a single pick where, and this pollen is crazy, by the way, down here in North Carolina. These allergies are killing me. Anyway, but there's not a single pick the Patriots made where I was like, I hate this. After sitting on it and looking at the players, right? So I like Lomu, the first round pick. Gabe, I think it's pronounced Akis, but there's a J in it. And at first I thought it said Jackass. And that would have been a great name for a football player. But Gabe Akis, I think is how it's pronounced, might be our best pick. And might just be an edge rusher with a great NFL future. Very good player. Very good player from what I've seen, some tape of him, and what I've read and heard from other people who've, that's their job, is to scout. We got a tackle out of Texas A&M, Demetrius Crownover, I think is his name. I don't remember his last name. But he was projected to be a third-round pick. We got him in the 7th, I think, or the 6th. So great value there. The only pick I'm really questioning is the corner out of Wake Forest, Prunty. He wasn't projected to be drafted. We drafted him in the 5th round. And the only reason I'm a little bit questioned about that is it's not that he's a cornerback. We didn't draft a safety, and I truly felt we needed safety help. Now, he is 6'2". Maybe he could transfer over to safety if he wanted. But I, for the most part, I thought the Patriots had a decent draft. I think a lot of teams, I really do feel like a lot of teams had good drafts. I don't remember everybody's draft, but I think a lot of teams got better through the draft if they could just develop their players, right? This wasn't a really top-heavy draft class where, there were superstars everywhere. This was always going to be one of those, trade back to the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and you'll get some potential good players back in the back end of the draft. But this isn't like a superstar draft class. Whereas next year has a little bit more superstar-esque potential. But the other thing I want to talk about is just this thing that I'm going to yap for a minute. And I'm not going to give any details just for the sake of it. I'm not going to give details just to be safe. I want to speak in generalities, not in specifics, is more so what I'm trying to say. I don't understand why. Now, if you work a job in that's like a restaurant job, or you work in a profession that doesn't have meetings on Zoom, on a weekly basis or on a bi-weekly basis or whatever. You don't work a traditional office job. You may not understand what I'm talking about. I work in self-storage. That's about as much information as I'm going to put out there. And we have meetings all the time. Training meetings with, crew lead. What would essentially be a crew leader or a trainer manager. Meetings with district managers, meeting with divisional managers or regional managers. We have meetings all the time with my company. And we had one today. And it got me thinking about just how much I would not work in a corporate setting. Just the way I'm designed, I would not make a very good corporate employee, right? That's always been the goal, of course, is, and I think that's sort of the dream sold to most of us, is get through high school, go to college, get your degree, and try to be at the top of the totem pole running companies, right? And work for someone else for 30, 40 years and then retire, right? And I'm just not built that way. I've recognized over the last few years, I'm not built for that. Like, I don't mind working. I want to work for me, though, right? I want to, like, if I could get anything in the world, is to hit the lottery, win like $1 billion, get the lump sum, and a lot of people, if they hit that, they would just stop working, and I wouldn't. I would take a long extended vacation, and then I would make, more than likely, I would make podcasting my job. This would definitely be a daily episodic thing that I would talk about, right? I would just talk about various different topics throughout the week. And so if that starts to happen, you know I hit the lottery. You'll know because we have to identify ourselves here in the state that I live in. But anyway, but of what I've noticed is I don't make a good I wouldn't make a good corporate employee because I'm just not built to what I call brown nose. And a lot of people use that term, but I'm not built to be like a corporate kiss up. And there's a lot of people, you'll find that a lot of successful people in corporate America are very good at their jobs, yes, but also very good at selling themselves as being very good at their job, when maybe in reality they're not, or they're very good at selling the company or the industry, or very good at maybe sounding like you'll notice that a lot of them are very charismatic. They're able to sort of stretch the truth a little bit and be okay with that. And they're more that they love kissing the ring that feeds them, and because they need to, right? I don't think a lot of them have, and again, I'm speaking in general terms. I don't think a lot of higher up corporate America has the sort of ability to do anything else but what their sort of specialty is, right? A lot of them don't have skills to run. But what I've also noticed is a lot of them don't know the actual business that they work in, right? A lot of them, they swap from industry to industry from a corporate level, but if they were to ever run a store, they probably wouldn't be able to do it, right? And I think that's an issue. Now, there's a lot of people, like my company does a decent job promoting from within, so there's a lot of people in more corporate positions that, you know, are division vice presidents, or, you know, that are not in the field as much. They're more corporate positions who started from a store manager position or whatever, right? And those are the ones I find that are the best district managers, area managers, regional managers, district vice presidents, or whatever, right? The ones that have actually worked in the field. Whereas the ones that, you know, get hired from outside the company in the same position at a different company, and they're not necessarily trained on how to be a field employee, right? And I wouldn't make a good corporate employee for several reasons. I live by my 3 R's: be real, be raw, and be relevant, right? And so because of that, I wouldn't be able to sort of be like, yeah, man, corporate's doing, you know, the company's on a great increase. They're so, I can't tell you how many times I hear every year, we're growing, there's so much potential, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, you got employees who've worked for your company, and again, speaking in generalities, for years, that don't get promoted because you hire from within. For someone, maybe there's a favoritism. I remember a company I used to work for, a regional manager got hired that had zero experience in the industry, but was friends with one of the upper management, and so they sort of got them the job, and that's sort of what corporate. And I don't thrive in that. I don't thrive in that position of a little bit of fakeness, and I've realized that I wouldn't work in corporate America. Like, it wouldn't work for me. With that being said, I'm still striving towards that goal, but also, like, I've also come to the conclusion, like, I think I'm at the point, and I mean, I'm not even 30 yet. I turned 29 this year, but I've been working for like 15 years, and I've come to the point where I've sort of had enough of making other people money, and there has to be a balance here, because I think that there is a realistic critique to the style of economy that we run. We don't run a I've gone over this before. We don't work in a capitalist society. We are in a corporatist society, or let's say it this way. We are in a mixed economy, right? We're not 100% capitalism. We're not 100% the opposite side, which would be communism or socialism. America runs on a mixed economy, which I would call corporatism, which is a mixture of capitalist principles, but also we have a large welfare system. We have a large affirmative action system with some policies in our corporate world that are somewhat socialistic. And so we live in a mixed economy, and what that then becomes is you have the very wealthy who sort of own everything. And this is where I sort of disagree. Politically, I tend to lean more conservative. On the economic spectrum, though, I probably lean more moderate. Like, I'm 100% for capitalism, right? If you were to ask me capitalism or socialism, without a doubt, 100% would be a capitalist. A free market capitalist. But I'm also very anti-corporatism. I think corporations are I'm just going to say it, a necessary evil to our life. But I think there also needs to be a balance. Like, I'm not saying businesses have to go out of business. The issue is we have a lot of businesses that should go out of business because they run bad business, and the government bailed them out. Like, I'm a big Chevy car guy. GM went under in 2008 and was bailed out by the government, and they should not have been, right? That sort of favoritism in the market should not happen. In a free market, capitalistic society, if your business goes bankrupt, you just go bankrupt, and that's just what happens. You don't get bailed out by the government. And so I don't think people realize how much better the country would be with a free market capitalistic society. Not just from the price of goods would more than likely be less. The quality of the product would be better. But from a employee standpoint, having a lot of people get upset when I say this, but having a minimum wage is a socialistic principle. A free market capitalist society would not have a minimum wage, meaning companies would pay based on the value you brought to the company, and there would be no limit. So if they valued you at $6 an hour, but here's where the other end of the coin plays in with free market capitalism. No one's going to work for $6 an hour. they're gonna if a restaurant's gonna pay you $6 an hour to wash dishes, right? And you go down the street and you tell the other restaurant they're offering me 6, but I'm not gonna work unless I get 15, and they offer you 15, right? You could take that offer, or you could go to the original company and say, I'd rather work for you because you have better benefits, but they're offering me 15, you're offering me 6. I need you to either give me to match the 15 or to do better. And within that free market society, one, you're paid based on the value you bring to the company, but second, wages would actually go up. But we wouldn't need wages to go up so much if we could manage the cost of goods. So the issue, really the issue we have economically is that the essentials for comfortable living, housing, cars, food, groceries, those things, those prices have skyrocketed over the last 20 years. To where I did an episode, I think it was a Just Yappin', which no longer exists. I decided to just delete that off of podcast networks. I think it's still on the YouTube, but that's the only place you could find it. But I did this episode about the economy and things like that, where a single person by themselves, in order to live comfortably, which is defined essentially as not lavish, but like not paycheck to paycheck, able to pay bills and have some left over, some to put in savings, enough to maybe take a 1-week vacation at some point during the year, like a normal family used to be able to do, right? And if a single person, in order to live comfortably, needs like $106,000 a year, and the average wage in America comes out to about $65,000. If you remove the people who make $110,000 or more, the sort of extreme variance in the marketplace, if you take away those who make 6 figures or more, the average wage actually for the average American is actually around $40,000 to $45,000 a year. And so you need 106 to live by yourself. Most people who are in that position are probably only making anywhere between $30,000 to $45,000, $50,000 a year. So they're under that amount by a lot. And so then you got to get a roommate, or you got to get 2 roommates, and really realistically 3 roommates is what is mostly needed. Essentially 4 incomes is what is needed to live comfortably in America. Now, you'll get the extreme conservatives that'll then come in and say, well, you should just live within your means. And a lot of that would mean, well, I'll just be real, I make after taxes, depending on how many bonuses I get during the year, after taxes, I'll probably bring home like $35,000 this year, right? And then you add in, and I don't blame the world for my debt. I blame myself because I do have a spending problem. I'll just admit it. But realistically, like I'm living far below I just want to sort of point out what, again, reference what I just said, to live by yourself, right? You used to be able, as a single male or a single female out of college, you used to be able to live by yourself. In the 80s and the 90s, you could get an apartment and live by yourself very comfortably. But you need about $106,000 a year. I want to just tell you what that means. That's $2,000 a week. $2,038 a week. Assuming you work 40 hours a week, that's $51 an hour. With inflation and that's $51 an hour is what would be needed for a single person to live by himself and to be somewhat comfortable. And the average wage in this company is in this country is far from that. And so I think that's a realistic thing. Like when I talk to friends and people who are more politically active or interested in politics, and I talk to them about the most important thing in the midterms that are coming up and what will determine the results on whether Republicans keep the House and the Senate or not is the economy. And with gas going up and the price of living going up, and here in North Carolina, I don't know what's going on with Duke Energy, but energy prices are going up. For like people just randomly out of the blue getting $1,000 power bill when the month before was like $200. And the average is about $200. But now they're getting a random $1,000 power bill. Right? And with AI data centers being built all over the place, sucking water. And so water prices are there, and they get like different agreement because they're coming into the community and bringing jobs to build, and they'll get all these subsidies and stuff to where they don't have to pay for the water that they're using. And that gets stuffed to the taxpayer. Right? And so I'm not a big fan of the corporatist America that we live in. But I think there also has to be a balance. Like, I'm not one of these people that are like, oh, I'm only working for big corporate because financially I need to be able to live. I'm not one of those people. I think corporatism in corporate America is very shady, very scandalous. But also at the same time, I think a lot of people just don't want to do work, and then they want to blame corporatism. I used to be in that mindset. Then I had a sort of wake up from an old coworker who was like, well, if you were at home and someone called you and said, hey, can you come over and do this task for me, and I'll give you $100 a day every day that you do it. And then he asked me, would you do that? And I said, yeah, if someone offered me $100 a day to, take care of their house or whatever, yeah, I would do it. And then he said, well, at your job, at the job we're working at, the X and X company is essentially saying we're giving you $100 a day, and all you got to do is do the task we assign you to do. And how often do we look at our job as just like, I don't want to do this, but we'll go home, and if someone offered us $100 a day to do something, we'd do it, right? And your company is essentially offering you $100 a day or whatever, right? But even within that, I have to say, in this economy, that I think there is a genuine critique. I've heard critiques from the more anti-corporations. I don't want to work for for big corporate people, where they're not paying their employees enough. And why should employees come and give all their effort for a corporation that doesn't care about them? And I genuinely understand that argument. Like, why would someone want to come in and put 40 years in for a company that on the day they die, they're just going to list the job application to replace them? I genuinely understand that. And what I ultimately think, like, we sell, like, being a corporate employee as the American dream. Like, you can make all this money, that's the American dream. But that's not what the American dream was. The American dream was to be self-sustaining and not have to trust on, right? So the American dream was to own your own company, and you just can't do that anymore. So, like, I understand both sides of the argument. There has to be a balance there. And I'll just tell you this: if we cut out all the socialism and the welfare programs and all the bailouts and all of that, whether it's to people who are abusing welfare and unemployment, or and cutting that socialism and that welfare thing, or whether it's the social corporate welfare of, well, this company is apparently deemed too big to fail, or this bank is too big to fail, so we're just going to keep printing money and bailing them out and raising the inflation. Right? I think both types of subsidies, whether it's subsidizing being poor through welfare and, child tax credits, and you're essentially incentivizing childbirth by giving them tax money per child. And so you get these poor people who have like 5 or 6 children, and they get these large tax returns, and that's essentially like, again, it's a it's a welfare system that was never meant to be as big as it was. And if we just cut it to where, like, need-based welfare, and you can only be on it for so long like it used to be, I genuinely believe, like, if we went after corporate welfare abusers and as well as the poor people who abuse welfare, and you treated them fairly and equally, and, hey, both of these are abusing the system, right? You see what I'm saying? So, I'm done yapping on that. Let's actually talk about Monday Night Raw. This might be a good place to end it. Remember, Friday I'm going to do Fan Question Friday. Submit all your questions. I got a lot of questions to go through from the last few weeks. But on Friday, we'll jump in and be Fan Question Friday. We'll just ask and go over those questions. That'll be the whole episode. Probably be about 30 to 45 minutes. And we'll start that. That's on Friday. So let's talk about Monday Night Raw. So the first thing I want to say is... actually, there's a lot more wrestling news. We'll cover Raw last. Let's talk about... speaking of Fridays, last Friday was Black Friday, it seemed, where WWE did their yearly cuts of the roster. And for the most part, it wasn't anyone necessarily important. And we got the white knighting and the crybabies on the internet and the IWC crying again about people being cut. It's just part of the business. I feel like, yes, it's a bad place to be cut. But most of them who were cut will find work on the indies. Some of them will not wrestle again. Like Luca Crustifino officially retired this week from wrestling, but he probably has something else that I think he graduated as an actual lawyer. And so, or with a law degree or something like that, he probably has a future in another industry somewhere that he could do. I think the biggest surprise to me, honestly, with the cuts was Tyra May Steele, because they had her win LFG, and then she never really had TV time. That was a really big surprise to me. In that they put a lot behind her. I don't think she was all that good, I'll be honest with you. That's just me. I didn't see potential. I didn't see her as all that good, to be honest. I think the only person I felt bad for not being re-signed or their contract ending wasn't one of the big ones that made news on Friday. But I found out that Carly Bright, who was part of Evolve, is gone. And that one's actually a little bit sad because she came in with Kendall Gray, and they were like a tag team. And one of the first episodes of Evolve, Kendall turned on Carly. Now, from what I understood, Carly sort of had a issue with facial expression, and she just was smiling all the time. And I think that's why they turned Kendall into a heel. I hate seeing those situations where like they come in together, have a little bit of potential, and then they split them separate, and you could tell which, like, Kendall definitely deserves where she's at. I liked Carly Bright. I thought she was a decent wrestler. And that one I was a little bit upset that she got cut. I just don't know if I agree that they booked her the best. And outside of that, I don't necessarily think I have any issues with who got cut. Just, I would have done more. Just being honest, right? I would have done more spring cleaning. I would have cut a few more people. That right, and I think people got to recognize that, like, Alba Fire, Selena Vega, Kyrie. Now, I've heard Kyrie asked to be released, or essentially insinuated she wanted to move back to Japan, and WWE just couldn't facilitate that. Like, you can't live in Japan and work for us because we need you to travel. And so I respect Kyrie for that. If she wanted to move back home, understood. I think the fans need to respect that. So, yeah, these cuts, I don't understand the upset every time this happens. Like, how do you expect to bring up Sol Ruka, Ethan Page, Obafemi, Joe Hendry? They did it right and brought up all the Fatal Influence at the same time. Best move they ever could make. They did it right. But that's 3 members now on the roster of SmackDown. Bringing up, I think Ricky Saints is going to be moved up as well here soon. Like, how do you expect to bring that much talent? Blake Monroe's, I think, debuting this Friday. Like, how do you expect to bring that much talent up and not get rid of the talent you're not already using, right? And so I just genuinely don't feel bad for the people who get cut. I just don't. The other thing I want to talk about is the CW has picked up PLEs starting with Great American Bash, meaning that all PLEs for NXT will be on the CW. Now, I'm assuming that means they'll be on TV. So if you have the channel on your television, you can watch it, as well as the app. That's what my assumption would be. I think that's pretty big. The CW's gone full in on NXT. I think that's fantastic. I think this is a great method on getting your PLEs out there for something like an NXT. My question with NXT, though, is a lot of your big-time stars just got taken. And I don't necessarily know if there's anyone that I'm interested in anymore. Like, Javon Evans was part of the group that I should have named that got brought up. I don't know if there's anyone that I would genuinely be interested in. Like, I'm interested in Tatum. I feel like they took too much talent at the same time, and they have to build stars quickly, right? They have to build some stars quickly. Like, Lola Vice doesn't do it for me as women's champion. She's just not going to do it for me. Tony D, I don't think will do it for me as the men's world champion. He's a good character. I just don't know if I see him being world champion. And so I need someone to step up to the plate and take hold of the reins that are offered to you and run this thing, because you have a great opportunity with this new deal with CW getting the PLEs. I like it a lot. So now we'll end with Monday Night Raw. And so we start with my favorite thing, an out-of-the-arena cinematic vignette. It is of Roman Reigns. Remember when we had these all the time? Or where we had them doing a vignette that wasn't, or a promo that wasn't in the ring or backstage, but was like in an office somewhere, right? And it wasn't like, for most WWE promos, it's either backstage being interviewed or in the middle of the ring, right? And I love these on location at different places type segments. I wish pro wrestling delved into the stigma of, well, you're just a soap opera. Dig into that and do some cinematic stuff, bro. Like, I would be hype if that, like, so when they started with this, I was like, we cooking. It sounds like the faction or whatever is going to be called the First Family. I don't know how I feel about that right now. We'll see how that happens. But Roman essentially started and said, I'm glad we got this covered between us Usos. I'm going to talk to Jacob tonight, essentially, right? I got to pull up a recap because I don't remember everything that happened. I'll just, while I'm pulling this up, just generally, I didn't think it was a bad episode. I'm going to agree with B-Master where he said you don't understand the stories because, and you feel disconnected because you're not watching. And I'll actually agree with you now. I don't know if I'm 100% interested, but I do think I need to watch the shows. Like, I watched the last 2 weeks of Raw, and while I don't know if I'll say it's the greatest stories, which brings me to another point that I actually saw today. It appeared they did a town hall with TKO, and Mark Shapiro, which is like the president of TKO, basically said, yeah, we use AI in our booking. And you could like it makes sense. Like, you could tell some of the stories are AI generated. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you, because I use AI to do some stuff, right? And if depending on what they're using, now they're probably paying for some hyper model that's up to date on everything, and they probably have people who know how to use AI better than me, how to program it, how to prompt it, and so they're probably getting decent. But like, he said that they even do like AI to try to figure out like what superstars work best in what countries or in what cities, and I just don't know if I trust all of that information. You could tell though that there's a lack of like actual creative minds in the booking, and that a lot of this may be, a lot of this could be, a lot of this could be AI. Lost my train of thought for a minute. Well, so after this promo, we get the actual first segment in the ring between Seth Rollins does a promo. And it is with Logan Paul. Or excuse me, not Logan Paul. That's later in the night. That's with Braun Breaker. Rollins put over Breaker, essentially saying, you're the next big star, but said that he's... Breaker was cooking, by the way. One of the better promos I've heard from Breaker, claiming that he was on his way to being a main star without Rollins. And basically said that your shoulders can't carry the weight of being champion anymore. Very good promo. Right? This was some of his best mic work, I think, from Breaker that I've heard. I think that I can remember from his main roster run. We get a match between Penta and Rusev, and Ethan Page was watching at ringside. You knew this would be a big setup. Javon Evans gets involved to make the save. Penta wins. Pretty mid segment, I'll be honest. I think the issue that I have with some of this is a lot of the match happened during like commercial. Right? And so it's hard to get, this is why I'm not a big fan of matches on weekly television. Because it's hard to get into some of these matches that get broken up by commercials. This is definitely, though, pointing to some sort of fatal four-way, probably at Backlash, between these four: Penta, Rusev, Javon, and Ethan Page for the IC title. Becky Lynch cuts a promo. She then issues a open challenge for her belt, where she says she wants to face a young, up-and-coming talent. Io Sky answers, and we get this match. Decent match. Asuka attacks and attacks Io, and I think that's set for Backlash. Io versus Asuka, I think it's set, right? Decent match, decent move, vignette and all of that, right? Joe Hendry has his debut, a concert with his new breakout song, Can We Fire Logan Paul? That's pretty funny. Logan comes out, starts beating down Hendry. The Street Profits make the save. Your typical stuff, right? Again, very mid, but like your typical like weekly television type stuff, right? My issue with this is part of the reason why I'm not the biggest Joe Hendry fan is I feel like he's a one-trick pony, right? I feel like all he's really good at, like I'll be honest, this is part of the reason why I wasn't a big fan of The Rock. Because I felt like The Rock. I'll add this though: The Rock could at least back up and be more than just a comedy act. That's what I hate to say, but that's what I feel about Joe Hendry. This is more like comedy, comic relief than realistic, like he could be world champion type stuff, right? We got Rey Mysterio, no Grande Americano, which is just to set up and basically to solely promote the mask versus mask match between the two El Grandes. That'll happen March 30th, I think. That they said. Yeah. Should be May 3rd, not March. May 30th at AAA's Noche de los Grandes. This is another mid-segment, but again, it was a serviceable TV segment. Right? Oba versus Grayson Waller, squash match. Oba looks good. The thing I'm excited for is he then said, I'm opening the Oba Femi Open Challenge. Anyone can, starting next week, any Monday, someone can come step in the ring. But realize that I'm going to be merciless because you're stepping in the ring, not with a man, but with the ruler. Right? I love everything about Oba Femi, and so I'm never going to call an Oba Femi segment bad unless, like, it's genuinely bad. But this was very good. The match was, I think, less time than the Oba's entrance. Oba's entrance is, like, Oba's over, and the entrance is his selling point. And a lot of this is, I think they wanted Brock versus Oba to extend to SummerSlam, but with him retiring early, I think this is a great pivot. Because I'm thinking, the squash matches don't have to be squashes every week. You could get like Oba versus Javon Evans, or an Oba versus. In fact, next week I would have Oba versus Javon Evans, with Ethan Page attacking Javon Evans, so that Oba looks strong in the match. You have a decent 10-minute match where both Javon and Oba look strong. Ethan attacks, so Oba doesn't take the pin, or Oba doesn't lose. Javon doesn't lose. You have a DQ. Both look good in it. Ethan can get the booze and start to grow, getting heat. I just genuinely like that idea. You get Bailey and Lyra versus Roxanne and Raquel. I have to tell y'all something. I don't know what it is. I used to hate on Roxanne when she was in NXT. I don't know what it is about Miss Roxanne now. She fine. I don't know, like, what the difference is. But anytime I see Roxanne now, like, yeah. Still not anything like my Dove Lyra. But, I thought this was a decent segment. I really do. I just want to know how much longer Bailey's contract is. I hate that Lyra's got to be stuck in this BS in a tag team division though, because Lyra is better than this. I don't know what the booking is with that. But the main reason that I started to watch, and that I really watched, is for Roman Reigns. Now I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit disappointed Danhausen wasn't there this week. He better be there Friday. But we get a Roman Reigns promo where he answers Jacob Fatu's challenge. And before he could get to Jacob Fatu, he starts talking about how he's elevating the world heavyweight championship. And realistically, he's only held it for about a week and a half now. But I would genuinely say he's probably the best world heavyweight champion to hold the belt in terms of prestige. But anyway, Jacob comes out, right? Roman basically said that he hoped that Fatu made the right choice to unite the family rather than tear it apart. Fatu accused Roman of being in his main event bubble, and that when his life was falling apart, it was Solo who reached out to Jacob, not Roman. Roman cut him off, said that Fatu proved Roman right. Fatu then attacked this dumb write-up from Bleacher Report, calling it the Mandible Claw, which seemed like, I think he hit that first. But then he hit the Tongan Death Grip. Right? He hit that Tongan Death Grip, which I haven't seen that move used. I don't know. Did Umaga use that move? I don't. If anything, that would have been the last time I saw it. Like, this move is super protected within, like, wrestling culture. Fatu sort of leaves the arena. He's leaving, going backstage. Roman grabs the mic and says, "You want me at Backlash? I'll see you at Backlash," right? Yeah, I like where we're headed. If it's done right. Like, Jacob Fatu can't win in 2 weeks. Right? Backlash is on May 9th. So I'm actually not going to be able to watch it live. I'll watch it the next day. I'll watch it on Sunday. I'll be at a concert May 9th. But, yeah. Genuinely good episode of Raw. Right? And so, like, I was sitting here and after Raw, after Mania being somewhat mid, in my opinion, I was sitting here thinking, like, I got a month. I paid for a month. I could cancel it and watch for the rest of the month. I haven't canceled yet. But I want to at least give it a month of watching Raw to sort of see, like, is it going to be worth keeping? If we get episodes like this, I'll also say Stephanie Valkyrie got attacked backstage by Roxanne and, in team. But I think there's enough going on to where if I continue to watch, I'll be more interested in what's going on as a product. I got to make sure, though, to watch Friday nights as well. And watch SmackDown. I want to compare SmackDown till Raw. So I probably got to set a timer or something to remind myself. But yeah, we'll definitely try to catch up on Friday Night SmackDown. I missed it this past Friday. It was like 9 o'clock, and I wasn't even paying attention to the clock. And I think I was watching the draft. That's what it was. And then hockey, I think, was on. And I looked down at my phone, and it was like 9 o'clock, 9:30. And I was like, oh, I missed SmackDown. And so, yeah. We'll catch SmackDown this week. I hope it's somewhat entertaining. But yeah, thank y'all for tuning into this episode. I enjoyed doing this episode. I don't know if you could tell that I had a lot of fun doing this way. I think we're going to continue doing it this way. Thank you, Kara, for hey, just do whatever you want to do. Like, I needed that reassurance that, like, if I just started yapping, y'all would listen. Yeah, thank y'all for listening to the Slapping Me community show. If you could do me a solid, to all who listen, if you're on YouTube listening to this, subscribe to the channel, like, and leave a comment. Like, that is big time. Like, that is how we get into the algorithms. Because ultimately, I do want to make it big, right? I'm not saying that that's not a goal. But in order to do that, I either need to win the lottery so I can pay for a marketing budget, or we can do this organically, and with that, a lot of that will just be like, tell YouTube that you like it, and leave a comment, put me in the algorithm. That's how the algorithm expands, right? Oh, people are watching, people are liking, people are subscribing to this, people are reacting to and commenting to. That's how it gets into the algorithm, right? And then if you're listening on podcast networks, which if I'm being honest, I would prefer if you listened on Apple or Spotify, even over YouTube, because that's where podcast, like, even with YouTube hosting podcasts, like, no one really goes to YouTube for a podcast unless you're watching like a video format and you want to watch the video. But if most podcasts are listened to, like, on a commute, in a car radio, through headphones, at the gym or whatever, on a plane, right? Most podcasts now are listened to via Apple or Spotify. Those are the two big places. So I would prefer you all to watch those there. There's even part of me that wants to sort of completely just delete the YouTube page, just to be honest, and just because we're already doing this audio only. And so there's really no reason to have a YouTube page. I do it just because, like, I continue to post there because people are subscribed to the channel. And I don't know if that's how they listen or not. But I genuinely, if you're listening on YouTube, if you could just do me the solid and transfer over to Apple or Spotify, and in doing so, subscribe there, like, or either subscribe or follow there, leave a review, let us know how you feel, and get those numbers up. That would actually mean more to me in getting the podcast numbers up. And so that's all the housekeeping stuff that will bookmark this. We started with it, housekeeping, we end with housekeeping, right? But again, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for listening to the Slapping Me community show. I'm your host, WETOODEEP. And until Friday, where we do Fan Question Friday, I will see y'all then. Y'all have a great rest of your week. And like I said, I will see you on the next episode.
So hit that subscribe, come along for the ride, whether it's NXT or NFL time. Going in the ropes and fourth and deep, Slapping Me community every Tuesday. Help the community up, every Tuesday, every Tuesday.